In this quick video, I'm going to show you how I set up a backtester using Python for backtesting historical stock data based off a simple technical indicator where the price crosses over a moving average. So this is not going to be a tutorial on how to use Python. This is not going to be recommendation on which strategy you should use or even which data provider you should use. This is just how I did it, and you can see how I set it up to track how many shares I bought, how much money I would have made, and so on. So to get started, you'll need these packages imported. I used Quandle for this one. You'll also need one more package, which is called OpenPixel. You'll need to import it into the project. You don't need to import it onto the screen, but you will need it installed in this environment. And this will handle the reading and writing of the Excel files. So the very first thing I have is set style. So this is a Seaborn aesthetic. It's just personal preference. You don't have to do it. Then I have these PD set options, which just, I don't like my data frames to print out cut off where you have the dots to show there's a lot of stuff in between. I just like it to show me everything, so that's what these do, these 4 lines. And next I have the API key for Quandle. So you'll sign up for Quandle, you'll get an API key, and you'll put it here. It'll be some mess of whatever, right? So who knows what it is. Don't share it with anyone because it's yours. Especially if you end up doing a paid plan, you don't want to pay for other people using your key for access. So the next thing I'm going to show, and I have it kind of commented out right here, is going to be how you import the data from Quandle, and then I'm also storing the data here to an Excel file. So as I have written right here as a comment, importing the historical data for various tickers and saving them locally as an Excel file. So when you pull this data in, you can immediately assign it to a data frame right here. So you use the quandle.get method. This is what you have to put in here for whichever ticker you want. And then you pick your dates. So I recently tried to do it with 2020 all the way out to 12/31, 12/30. It didn't return that, so I just used some later dates so you guys can get an idea. And then I saved it to an Excel file called Apple for the Apple data, AMD for AMD, Microsoft, and GME for GameStop. So this is all pretty much the same stuff. I just changed the ticker names and then changed the file names to match the tickers, and the same with the data frames. And then you can read. So the reason why I did that is because if you're trying to build your code out and you're constantly running it to debug it and troubleshoot it and see where errors are, you're gonna hit Quandle with a request to get data every time you do it. So when I first started using these things, I was troubleshooting a lot and I was debugging and running the code a lot, and it got to a point where they weren't allowing me to make any more requests. So rookie mistake, what I ended up doing was I made the request, saved the data, and then now I don't have to do any of this when I'm troubleshooting or backtesting or trying to create a new strategy. I can comment all of this stuff out, and don't even need it anymore. So I've already ran the Quandle get methods to bring in the data, and I save them as these Excel files in here. You can see I have other stuff going on, but I have Apple, AMD, GameStop, and Microsoft. So I called it stock because it's easier to just change this than it is to change this to AMD or this to Apple or whatever, or having, you know, a whole bunch of these things just going on and on and on and on and on. So I just called this generic data frame stock, where all I have to do is change this to AMD. It'll pull AMDs in, GameStop or Microsoft, you know, whatever you want. So this pulls in whichever Excel file I want and stores it as the data frame called stock. Then the next is I have these moving averages that I created. And what I did is when I created the moving averages, I assigned them to a new column in the data frame. So for the 5-unit simple moving average, and in this case, this is going to be daily time frame. I go into stock on the close column, and I do a rolling 5-day window, and I get the mean, and I write it to that column. And this right here is for the exponential moving average. So this is it uses a different method than the simple, but it's not hard to figure out. You can even copy this code. I'll post it on my website after I make this video. So this is the simple moving average, the way to get the simple moving average and write it to the data frame. And this is the exponential moving average. And I have it for the 5, 10, 20, 30, 50. So then I have a function called trading algo in day, because I don't know, you know, how many days of the moving average I want. So I just make it generic. And then in the beginning of that function, I declare some variables, and you'll see why in a minute. I have bool equal to 0, bear equals 0, shares equals 0. Then I have tracking columns and tracking. So I have a list called tracking columns, which is a list of strings for the columns that I want later on when I create a data frame. And then this is an empty list, so that each time it comes through here, it appends the information back to tracking. And the reason why is, you can see here, I create this data frame when I'm done called trades. And this takes the tracking columns, which is this list of strings, makes it the column names, and it makes the data that I appended to this empty list going to be the information in that data frame. So what I do is I just loop over the historical data set, which you can see here. I use for index row, and I use the iter rows method, iter rows, whatever you want to call it. And I use the 50 EMA in this case. Now, this is why I kept everything generic. So if I want to change between 50 and 5 or 10 or whatever that I have defined up here, I simply just change this to either a 5, I can do 50, 10, 30, 20. It's whatever I have defined up here will work. So in this first one, we'll just do 50. And then you will also want to change this here if you want to keep it all up to date. This won't brick your code, but it'll just be the wrong information on the column title. So anyways, define close equals row close, so it's going to be all the items in that row. Well, it's gonna loop through the rows, so you understand what I'm saying. And then EMA is going to be my variable for the data in the EMA column. So whatever the data is for close and EMA on that respective row in those columns, it'll extract that and assign it to these variables. So here's going to be my bullish case. If close is greater than EMA, this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to say bool is equal to bool plus 1. Then, and you'll see why in a second, if bool is equal to 1 is a true statement, then it's going to jump into here, and it's going to say bear is equal to 0. The number of shares you have is equal to money, which you put in initially, divided by the close price. So this money is going to be divided by this close, and that's going to be the number of shares you have. And you can make it nicer to where it's an integer value, so it's more, aligned with how you're going to buy stocks. And then I have these print statements, which you don't have to have. I have it just so I can go on the screen and troubleshoot and look at things, and just, personal preference. And then I append all of this data to tracking, which is this empty list. So if bool is not equal to 1, then that means that I already purchased shares and the stock is trending bullishly, because this means the close is still greater than the exponential moving average I chose, and it's not the first time this happened. So then the stock is trending, do nothing, and I put 1 here because I have multiple print lines like this. So then it just prints the same stuff as up here, but it says now your shares are worth this much, and then it appends the data into uh, the, the list. Now I know you can pull these numbers in different ways. I just did it in a simple way that pretty much almost everyone can understand. So this is the bullish case, and now you'll see why I have this bear equals 0, bull equals 1 thing. So this is going to be the bearish case, right? So the close is less than that moving average. So bear is going to be equal to bear plus 1. And if bear is equal to 1, so it was previously 0, then bull is equal to 0. So what this is doing, this is defining when we switch from bullish to bearish, or bearish to bullish, for the bear equals 0 in this one. So it's basically like resetting a counter, so to speak. And the reason why I have this counter in here is because if bull is not equal to 1, and this condition is true, then you're going to come in here and you're going to try to redefine how many shares you have, which means you're going to take however much money those shares are worth, and you're going to try to just reassign this variable. And you're not going to be able to track how much money you've made over that course. Like right here, your shares are now worth this, because it's just going to be, I mean, you can track it, but it's just, there's no point in buying it every day when your condition remains true, if that makes sense. So you don't want to just buy every day. That's not what you're going to do in real life. You're going to buy it once. You're going to sit on and hold it until the environment changes, and then you'll sell it off. So in this bearish case, if the close is less than the EMA, bear is equal to bear plus 1. So if it was 0 before, which means it was in bullish mode, well, now it's going to be 0 plus 1. So now bear is equal to 1. So when it's equal to 1, we set bull equal to 0. So that means it's going to reset that counter for bull, so that when you jump back up here, it'll trigger this if bull is equal to 1 is true. So if bear is equal to 1, then this is the first time, bull equals 0. If shares are equal to 0, then your money is equal to money. So what this is doing is, like, if for some reason it's the same price, like if you don't, so if you don't have any, let me back up. If you don't have any shares, then you don't want to make it, there's nothing for you to sell, for you to extract the profit from, if that makes sense. So if your shares are equal to 0, then your money is still just your money. You haven't bought back in, right? So, and then it's gonna, again, append that information back to that list so you can track it. But if shares are not equal to 0, then that means you have shares. And so you bought before, and now it's turned bearish, and you have shares. So now your money is going to be equal to the number of shares you have times the close. It's basically a sell order. You're selling your shares at this price, this many shares at this price. And again, it prints the date right here, and then you sold the shares to make this much money. So your money is going to come back to here. And it, prints out the counters. It's pretty simple stuff. And then again, append the data to your list so you can track it. Else, so if bear is not equal to 1, it bypasses all of this stuff and comes down here. The stock is trending, do nothing, 2. So this is the same as the stock is trending, do nothing, 1, right? So we don't want to constantly buy in or keep trying to sell if we're already in or we're already out, right? You can say, well, what if I want to go short every time I close my long position? That code is a little more complicated, not much, but it's a little more complicated. And there's some things that, sorry about that, my microphone cut out. So what I was saying is, when you try to do a sell to close and then a sell to open, there's other things besides just getting the code right you have to consider as far as market movements and market strategies and stuff like that. So that's a completely different video. So anyway, stock is trending. You do nothing. Okay. Append the data to the list, and then you come down here to the else statement. So the stock is trending. Do nothing. So the close is not less than the EMA. It's not greater than the EMA. So basically, it is the EMA, right? So if these two are false, then it must be equal to the EMA. So it's because you don't know which way it's going to go. So do nothing. Then I take this list that we created and the column names, and I make this data frame. And I do that so that I can then print this plot. I can make this plot, and I can show when the price crossed either way, right? It's just just a little visual so you can look at it and see what's going on. And then obviously you got to return some ridiculous statement, right? So if we go ahead and run this, and then we put in our function, I'll put $100,000 in there, just a big round number. So you saw how it printed out all of these print statements that I'm tracking in here, that I have in here. That's just for my personal benefit. And this is the plot. So if we go back to the screen, you can see how it's tracking all the different scenarios that you're jumping in and out of. So the first one, bull equals 0, bear equals 0, it does nothing. It jumps down to this statement right here. So the exponential moving average is being set equal, even though it's a different period. It's like 50 days in this example. It's setting that first close price equal to the moving average, and it's going from there because it's putting in a value as opposed to a null value. So then on the next one, it's saying, okay, the price is greater than what it was for that average, and bull equals 1. You purchased this many shares, and then now it says your shares are now worth this much. So we're making some money, making some money, making some money, and this goes on for a while because that condition remains true. And if you look at the plot, it remains true all the way up until here. And you can change these for dates. Again, this isn't a Python tutorial. This is just pretty basic how to set up a back tester. So it's going to keep going, keep going, keep going. And then here. So on this day, you sold your shares to make this much money. So this is total portfolio value. I didn't put a profit number in here. This is just how much you have. So technically, you didn't make this much. This is just how much you have. So this is some poor wording on my part. But anyways, you get the idea. So now bulls equal to 0, bears equal to 1. Stock is trending. So you don't have a short back tester in place. So you're not doing anything. You're just waiting. Waiting, waiting, waiting. And again, you're waiting for it to jump back up above here. And then when it finally does, okay, you purchase. You have this many shares now. Bull, bull, bull. Your shares are worth this much. Stock is trending, going up, going up, going up. So eventually, when you get to the end of the data, it's just going to keep going, right? I don't have an exit built in or anything like that. You can set that up however you want. So you can see here you were up to about 154,000 from 100,000 starting. So you made 54% over this time frame. So I think this is what did we pull in here? I think it's like a year, 2 years. So the beginning of 2017 and the end of 2018. So yeah, this is 2 years. And this is for Apple. So, and then you can come over here and you could do, if you want to look at those data frames that you created. So this is what I meant with this stuff. It doesn't give me all the dots. It gives me everything. So you can come in here and you can see these were the columns that I appended to the to that data frame as I made these moving averages, right? And then we can also see the trades data frame that we created. Oh wait, what did I call it? Oh, I didn't return trades out. So here, watch. So we'll do it again. Run the code. Okay, cool, blah, blah, blah. Next thing. I don't know why that's not working. Anyways, I'll troubleshoot that and figure out why that isn't tracking properly. Because it definitely should be. Oh, my bad. It's returning trades to the screen. My mistake. I messed up. I had a moment. So this is the trades data frame right here, right? So check it. Well, actually, let's do a different time frame. So to change the time frame up, we'll change this to, spoiler alert, I think it's 30 that ends up being the best for this particular thing. So we'll run it with 30, and then we'll do the function. Oh yeah, my bad. Change this to 30. Anything else I'm missing? No? Let's try it again. See, this is why I said you don't want to do the API call every single time you're troubleshooting, because then I'd be hitting Quandle every time I was rerunning this code. So here you can see this is 50, this is 30, right? And if you come over here to the screen, you can see how you ended up with 148, 154. I think this is like 3,000 more so than the 50-day. So let's do let's not return trades. Let's just check it real quick. So for 30, we ended up with 148. And then again, you can make this to where it takes in the exponential moving average you want to use as well to make it easier on you. And then for, let's do 20. This one doesn't really need to change, but whatever. Let's try that. $150, yeah. So 30 was what, 148. 20 is 150, and then I think it was 145 for 50. Let's check it real quick. Yeah, 145. So 50 EMA was 100. So you made 45,000. 30 EMA was you made 48,000. 20 EMA was you made 50,000. So it's, you know, a difference of 5% when you're talking about a total return of 45 to 50%. So it's not bad. Pretty good, actually. Better than the indexes. So I hope this was helpful. Sorry about my little noob mistakes with that whole trades thing. Kind of lost my mind for a second, but got it figured out. Anyways, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. If you want to see any different type of backtest strategy, or possibly how to implement a switching between going long and short, let me know. And also, I will put a link in the description for to get to the website to copy this code down for yourself. Just remember, you have to go get your own Quando key or whatever other data provider you like. All right, thanks. Have a good day.